Well, this is
You don't need to get a swelled head about it.
this is it, isn't it? The end of Shared Dimensions. And I'm recording this on Monday, December 13th, 2021. And a couple days before No Way Home comes out. I might be doing, not this game again, but I will be doing like the PS4 game. The game. So,
You're full of something.
what did I want to talk about? Oh yeah, Mysterio. Mysterio in Far From Home is probably one of the more comic accurate villains because he's like a criminal psychopath that wants to trick everyone to be that he's a big hero because he got wronged by a corporate government. Except replace movie producers for not recognizing his actoresque for Tony Stark and basically making his life's work a living joke. Basically, it's just that. But, well, and like the costume is, like, remove the armor bit on the body and it'll be completely comic accurate. Like, completely. Keep the cape, keep the gloves, keep the boots, keep the fishbowl, and it's completely comic accurate.
You're full of something.
I haven't read any Mysterio comics, and all of his other appearances didn't really help me
Really?
understand who he is.
Tell me more.
But yeah, I mean, it kind of didn't really help me understand who the heck Mysterio even was as a person. I knew he had a lot more going on with him, but, well, I just didn't really care. But hey, at least I'll get to him eventually
You're full of something.
when I finally get around to getting the second volume of that Stan Lee collection. Because he's like in issue 13. But,
Really?
like his relationship with Peter is kind of like his relation, like Peter's relationship with Green Goblin,
This is
where Goblin's trying to seduce him, like being nice to him, but then revealed to be a complete psychopath and a bad mentor figure. But like just his character is comic accurate.
You're full of something.
But like people wanna like Mysterio, especially the MCU haters that don't like this version of Spider-Man. They say we want to like Mysterio, but he just doesn't have anything to make us like him. That's mainly because of the fact, or maybe that's just what I'm reading. It's more because of the fact that they want Raimi villains instead of what they are actually like in the comics. Like sure, Mysterio could have had that very tragic backstory where his like sister was terminally ill and his actor life was the only way to cope with it, and that he just went mad with power when he didn't get the whole role. But him making himself to be the hero, that's completely like the comic. But the only thing not like the comic is his way of like exposing Peter Parker as Spider-Man. It's kind of like how Superman in Injustice basically just texted everyone on Twitter, "Hey, Batman is Peter Parker. I mean, Batman is Bruce Wayne." But like, P.S. Mysterio did not die. Quinn Beck did not die. He is alive. I know he's alive. No one can fool me that he is not alive is completely bullcrap. That he is not. That he did die. Did the die. Completely bullcrap.
Hey, I'll keep fishing it out if you keep taking it.
It's completely bullcrap. I expect him to be the sixth member of the Sinister Six in No Way Home. Completely expect it. Or maybe it's already been confirmed by like set reviews or something. But yeah,
Hey, what's so
the
funny?
whole
You see a
Peter.
reflection of your outfit?
Okay, let's move on to Peter. I think everyone kinda just looked at this movie once, thought they understood it because it was a Marvel movie and they didn't need to look at it bigger. Where it's kind of like, they didn't have a character arc. They didn't grow or anything. Even though he found confidence in himself as Spider-Man again, and he grew to love being Spider-Man still. Oh yeah, Raimi made everyone think that Spider-Man was just a lone kid that just hated himself for being Spider-Man, but kept doing it out of guilt. Yeah, I completely forgot that's what everyone thinks that Spider-Man and Peter Parker's relationship is. Kinda forgot.
All hope is lost.
But, like the whole why is he into MJ thing now is mainly because of the fact that it's been a whole year since Homecoming.
Hey, what's so funny? You see a reflection of your
He
outfit?
has moved on from Liz. He's not interested in her anymore. And, well,
Yeah, that's
mean.
hilarious.
no one ever bothered to wonder why he was interested in Mary Jane to begin with. Well, because he was attracted to her? Like, who cares? He wasn't interested. Besides, she was moving on.
Don't answer that.
Like, I don't want to rip on the Raimi films, even though it has many things that I personally want in Spider-Man stuff, yet I'm not getting. I mean, I would have liked to see Hammerhead, like Tombstone, or even Kingpin mentioned. At least mentioned. Those are all human Spider-Man villains that don't need to be the main villain and are not super villains.
Face me and be crushed by a god.
Would have liked to see that, but no, we have to focus on Peter's relationships. Because, of course, nothing is focused on Spider-Man. Maybe we're like, oh no, Doc Ock was getting a lot of attention. Green Goblin was getting a lot of attention. Yeah, that's not Spider-Man. Spider-Man would probably be, I don't know, stopping bad guys, stopping the mob in New York, you know, keep crime down. Are you getting where I'm getting this?
Work on my impression.
It's not focusing on what I like about Spider-Man. I could not care less
Little monkey? Don't
what
answer that.
like MJ smelt like that morning or something like that. I do not care about Peter's relationship with like MJ. Like all I care about is not to say that's bad. It's just not what I like about Spider-Man. Because like the only time I ever liked Spider-Man being relatable, is specifically Peter Parker, was when it was in like Into the Spider-Verse. You know why? That was mainly because it was just one big joke. That his life was so pathetic, and him just covering it up with jokes about how his life was just like he was taking it like a champ and all of it. Like, that was the only time I actually cared. Like, his hilarious trying to say, like, finally get closure on Mary Jane, while also just acting like he's so sad about not getting her order,
Answer that.
is just funny to me. That's funny. But to me, Spider-Man is way more interesting than Peter Parker. You may be saying, but they're the same character. Yeah, but kind of like Batman is the same character as Bruce Wayne. Peter Parker is a person super down on his luck. Spider-Man is a very strong, confident, like badass. That's who he is. They're the same person, but they act very differently, and they're also just flat out
Standing on solid ground is so
are just good people. But yet no one ever comments on the fact that in the original comics,
This should finish you.
Peter was an asshole.
Do not
I
let
mean,
him get away.
in one issue, he literally just picked a fight with the Human Torch. All because the Human Torch was throwing a party.
Come and get me if you
He
can.
just crashed it and then picked a fight
Come
with
and
him.
get me if you can.
And then he fought off Mr. Fantastic in the Thing just because he was a bit pissed off.
Come and get me if you can.
About what?
At the best you
I don't know. He was just pissed off about something.
You know, your helmet looks a little cracked. Let me take a better look at it.
Out, out, breathe.
But yeah. What else?
Quickly.
MJ.
Spider-Man.
Uh,
Dodge this.
is pretty much just MJ. No. I mean, I haven't gone so far into Stan Lee and Steve Ditko's run that I would actually. I mean, it's just Stan Lee's run because she first appeared in like Romita Jr. or something. I don't know.
You know, your
But
helmet looks a little cracked.
but like
Take a better
Stan,
look at it.
but like
You will perish
look,
in flames.
the original MJ looked like MJ, but wasn't really MJ.
Come and get me if you can.
It was more of a mix of the 616 like goals and dreams
End has come.
versus
You got my
the Ultimate Spider-Man's
Whoa, that's
like drowsiness. Because guess what, Raimi fans?
For you.
It took more influence from the Ultimate comics. Like, okay, let's review. Because here's the thing: people are saying that Tom Holland is not comic accurate, but they don't really understand what the heck that means. Do they mean the actual continuity, or do they mean the Ultimate comics?
Your end has come.
Here I come.
Let's actually think about it.
You are no match
In the
for
original
my
continuity,
powers.
Peter went to a science thing about radioactivity that so happened to have a spider
Fancy meeting you here.
crawl down into the radioactive electricity or whatever. It bit Peter, and then he got spider powers. But you know something? It wasn't Oscorp. And he didn't meet Harry till college. Or MJ till college. Oh. I mean, Betty Brant was never once one of his love interests. Liz Allen was never once one of his love interests. In fact, Liz Allen should have been Mary Jane in the trilogy if they wanted. The only reason they made it Mary Jane instead of, say, Liz Allen was mainly just because MJ was more popular and was currently married to Spider-Man at the time. Not because like they were actually interested in Mary Jane herself. It was just to be comic accurate. Whatever that means. Like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man run is more Spider-Man movies are as comic accurate as the Dark Knight trilogy. Are those movies bad? No. They're pretty dang good movies. but they're not comic accurate. Tim Burton's Batman movies, not comic accurate. Like, the closest thing we're ever really gonna get to a truly comic accurate version of Batman is basically the 60s show. And that was because it was comic accurate to the Silver Age, where everything was cartoony. Oh yeah, Spider-Man. I was talking about Spider-Man. And pretty much the only thing to Spider-Man would be comic accurate. The closest available thing to be comic accurate is the 90s show, because it actually portrayed it more like the comic, the origin, Peter's attitude. That was pretty much it. Peter was basically just a big a-hole that would come around to being a nice guy. The only real problem with the adaptation is mainly because of the fact that it was way too fast. Like, way too fast. If you look at one scene, he either goes from, alright, no longer Spider-Man, then like 12 seconds later, okay, I'm back to being Spider-Man. That was pretty much how fast it was. Besides, it mixed like a whole bunch of other stuff. I mean, it pretty much just mixed MJ and Gwen Stacy together. Not that MJ was like completely. In fact, I think Sam Raimi. Actually, I think the writers of those movies actually took more interest in the 90s and Ultimate Comics than they actually did the Stan Lee and Steve Ditko comics, which it pretty much in the title say it's based on. Even though it's very clearly not. Or they would have made some of the high school things fun and then or like pretty much how it would have been truly comic accurate is one, the first villain would have been Doc Ock. Or like any other villain besides Green Goblin. And it would have, and the entire first movie would have been in high school, where Peter was starting to learn to be more like the confident, cool guy in school, while everyone else was like, where all the girls are drooling over him, and the boy, and like Flash Thompson was bullying him. Then in the second film, they introduced Mysterio as the main villain. They basically just make him to like have a conflict, or actually Chameleon would have been the villain for the first film, and Doc Ock would have been the villain for the second film still. But Doc Ock wouldn't be sympathetic at all, and he would have just wanted to do the Master Planner storyline. Peter would meet up with Gwen in college, and his life would slowly start to turn for the worst. Then he would find strength within himself, and like go be a hero. And then in the third film, Green Goblin would show up. Actually, no, the first film would have Vulture. Yeah, I know, it's very confusing. But basically, Green Goblin would have been the villain for the second film, for the third film. And pretty much, it would just be like like the hints of it would started in the first film, but it would go all the way to the third film. That's pretty much how it would work. But instead, they did Green Goblin first, killed him off, and then they did Doc Ock, and then they did Sandman, Venom, and Green Goblin again. Because, guys, Harry is not Hobgoblin. Stop thinking he is. He was never Hobgoblin. He was basically the new Goblin. If you don't like that, well, too bad. Because that's how it was in the comics. He was the second Green Goblin. And pretty much the only reason people think that is because there was an orange goblin mask. That's pretty much the only reason people think that. Alright, I've gotten that off my chest. How many minutes do we have left? Oh yeah, that many. What else? It's pretty much all I need to talk about. Maybe for Christmas I should ask for that second volume. Well, I had a crappy day. I apparently took 2 hours off before I went to school. I had to rush the entire day. Just 30 minutes. You'd think that'd be great. Then, kinda sucked. Tried to do the first part of the Mysterio fight. Got angry, stopped, got dressed. Then my dad dropped my mom off at work and dropped me off at school. Then it turned out that it was Spirit Week. I live in Alaska. Ketchikan. And for Monday, it was Pajama Day. The thing is, I had completely forgotten it was Pajama Day. And, well, didn't wear pajamas. Even though in all my classes, everyone else had regular clothes on. But my dad got angry with me because I didn't tell him it was Pajama Day or Spirit Week or where the freak it is. Now to make up to him, I'm doing Tuesday's Day, which is where anything but a backpack day. I have a suitcase with all my school stuff in it. So that's fun. But thing is that I was completely fine just choosing it, but then my dad, to explain, is kind of always has to be right and never can be wrong. Yet he's always trying to place that when I was yelling at him and getting mad at him for pretty righteous reason in my opinion, that, well, it doesn't matter, it's completely fine that I didn't tell him, because, like, sure, because, well, I'm not him. Why should he think that it was important to me to tell him that it was Spirit Week? Because Dad doesn't seem to realize, because, like, his mom beat into the fact when he went to high school in, like, a very smaller town, that theme days are important, and that like, it's good for sociability and stuff. But the thing is that I'm perfectly fine talking to people, it's just that I don't want to always talk to people. I just don't think he understands that. Or even that I'm not interested in the same things that he is, or put values on stuff that he puts values in. He likes basketball. Never found it interesting. The only time I ever found it interesting was Space Jam. Then I tried to get Mom on my side to not do the whole the backpack day thing, by saying I didn't have my own locker because the school never gave me one. Might be wondering how was that. It's like, well, I just was never given one. Now I have to talk to the school about getting one, and the reason why I don't want one is mainly because of the fact that I just kind of feel like I'm bothering them with something that they could have done that is basically their job to do, but yet I have to talk to them about it. I feel like they're being bothered by it because, and if you're watching this in the future, COVID's still going on, so it's at like high risk right now. So I just kind of feel like stress is happening, so I'm just not wanting them to feel stressed and trying to give me a locker.
So, what I miss? Enough said, kids.
Yeah.
Enough said.
And then my mom just got mad at me. I've just kind of been avoiding them all day. I got so pissed off when Dad was gonna go pick up Mom from her appointment before she came home that I took the dogs out and let them do their thing, but our downstairs neighbors, because we own this apartment, had a dog, and my dogs love this dog. They like, especially the little one, and the dog came, and Louis came out, so my dogs were just super excited. But Grim, my first dog, followed me up the stairs. But my youngest dog was still down there trying to go get Louis, and their collars come off really easily. So I wasn't pulling on him to come up. I was just trying to get him onto the step to get up. And I was just getting really annoyed, and the neighbor seeing that maybe, or just deciding that this wasn't a good time. So I was trying to get back into the house, and Louis was preventing it, so he just told Louis to come back inside. And then the baby got in. I kind of just got mad at him, telling him why didn't he come up. And nearly crushed his lower pelt. He's a very long dog, but nearly crushed his whatever's down here, like near the end of it. And I did like pull the door open because I was just too angry. So because I was trying to close it, but the baby wasn't through yet. So I opened it, let him through, closed it, and then I gave them their treat, which I knew it wasn't their fault. I was mad. I was angry at something else that Dad said. And then I gave them their treat. It wasn't what Bubby wanted because he's just a picky eater, picky pooper, or picky whatever. And then he wasn't eating it. Moose was eating it though, but I basically just was getting so annoyed that I basically tried to shove it in his mouth. And that's just when I kind of just broke down and just started crying. Well, at least I vented a little bit. Well, that ended on a depressing note. Anyway, I love the game. One of my favorites. And I'll see you all next time on next Star Wars month or whatever. I don't care.